What's going on? I'm about to do my bracket. Now we know all the matches for round 32 and onwards. South Africa, Canada's about to start in about half an hour, actually. So I gotta speed through this. I was gonna do my reaction for what's it called? Match day 3. That'll probably be coming out. I'll hopefully get out tomorrow. So I want to do that. But since South Africa, Canada are about to kick off in 30 minutes, and last night I would record the video, but I was just too tired, so I decided, okay, let me just do it next day. Yeah. Other than that, let's just get straight into it just because I'm under the clock here. I'm going to be probably putting this together while watching the Canada game. So, yeah. And I guess actually, speaking of which, let me start with the Canada game because that's the one we're talking about. I know no, we'll go in order. We'll go in order. All right. So we got Germany, Paraguay. I think Paraguay did a good job to go through. Again, I think I'll go a little bit more in depth in terms of how I feel about these teams. I guess now, this and the reaction, I don't really know how it's going to go. I'm just kind of speeding this through. But get rid of all the fluff. I'm going to go with Germany. I don't think this will be an easy game for them. Paraguay, again, I've shown that they've been a resilient team. Obviously, the U.S. blitzed them in the first game, but Germany, for me, haven't really shown much. If I'm being totally honest, like being any team Curacao, one of the weakest teams in the tournament. Ivory Coast, again, got a late winner, but if you want to look at their performance in that game, I don't think they were that great. And even Ecuador, sure, they already topped the group, but they did still feel their strongest team, and then they did lose to Ecuador. But I think Germany will have enough for Paraguay just because I don't think Paraguay, I don't think the supporting cast around CISO is good enough to really pose a significant threat against Germany. And I think Germany will get the breakthrough. I think it will be done late, but I do expect Germany to get past Paraguay. France, Sweden, I think this will be a blowout. I don't rate Sweden. I don't think Sweden are that great of a team, and they just lost Hien, their best defender, and the way France is attacking is cooking. With France, not France, Mbappe, Dembele, and Elise, I just don't see a world where Sweden's make it out alive in this game. I think France can honestly hit them for 4 or 5. And Sweden, I think, in my opinion, I think Saliba has been the best center back in this tournament. Upamecano, very close to. I just don't see a way Gyökeres poses any threat. Isak, as good as Isak is, I just don't think he'll be a factor in this game. I think the guy in form for Sweden actually is Olenga, funnily enough, and they'll be a lot of Sweden's attack will be relying on him because I think you can get at France's fullbacks, but again, I don't see a way Sweden can compete with France. All right, the game that's about to kick off, South Africa, Canada. Again, after the first game, not a lot of people gave South Africa a chance because, again, they saw that, the moment got to them. First game back in the World Cup, playing against Mexico in the Azteca, not easy task at all. Again, we also saw Czechia. Again, I'll just link into more of the reaction. Also, falter under the pressure there. I told you, people are disrespecting South Africa going into this tournament, and I've had them finishing second. So, Canada, a little bit disappointed not to be playing their knockout games in Canada, but I don't think it's as big as the deal as it's made out to be, but still. I am still going to favor Canada I don't think Canada beat South Africa by more than a goal. My thing with South Africa is they did a very good job to get here, but in knockout football, in terms of who's going to make the difference for them, I don't know. I think they'll frustrate Canada. I don't know what the approach from South Africa will be because I think they are a team that can play, but I don't know. I think that based off how I saw the Mexico game, I know lineups around everything. Now I didn't take a look at any lineups just to keep my own biases away from how I think the games will go. Just how I think the games will go, flat out. I think this game will go to extra time, and I think Canada, they have more proven forwards. Like the problem with South Africa is I think they struggle for goals. Like Canada, Jonathan David, Kyle Aaron, Promise David. Each of these guys I think can find the back of the net. So I will back Canada just. Netherlands, Morocco, for me, just thinking some of these fixtures have been confirmed for a couple of days now. So this has been the one that's been on my mind the most. And they're picking a winner. I think both teams have looked very good in this tournament. Going into this tournament, I said Morocco were being overrated. And I think I still somewhat agree with that. However, I think with Morocco, what I've seen from them in the group play, I think I'm gonna go back on my own take. I think with Morocco compared to the team, especially of last World Cup, is that when this team steps onto the field, I think it's a level of confidence and they almost command respect, and they're not intimidated by the opposition like Brazil. I think they step onto the field thinking they can beat Brazil, they can beat obviously Scotland. And especially the last two performances, I think you've seen a lot of maturity from the team, especially against Haiti. I was surprisingly is I think the game where I convinced me most with Morocco. You'd be surprised because it's Haiti. They played Brazil, but the opportunity to top the group, going 2 goals down, one being a wonder goal, having the resilience to come back, the maturity of the squad, even like taking off their best attackers, Sabari and Brahim, they were able to make the difference, come back against Haiti. So I think it really showed the resilience, the maturity, and like almost like the gravitas of this team to really, they're not going to be intimidated by Netherlands. That's pretty much what I'm saying. And they're going to go into this game looking to play, looking to go toe to toe with them. And I think the Dutch have been great as well. So again, Japan, I think they were the better team against Japan. Japan they can see 2 goals to them, but if you look at it, they were both deflected. Against Sweden, hit them for 5, and then Tunisia, again, just handled business there. Honestly, in this game, I think this one goes to penalties. I'll be honest, and because for me, there's not much to split the two teams. And like I said, if you look at the difference makers, I talked about it in this game. I think while Saibari has been great for Morocco, and you have the likes of Gakpo, Brobby, and some of those come off the bench and made an impact. I don't think you can consistently say these guys will be the nail on difference makers in these games. Like who will step up? Maybe all of them step up, but I think this goes to penalties, and in a penalty shootout between, I believe, Bono and Verbruggen, I'm gonna back Bono. Yeah, I'm gonna go Morocco just to beat Netherlands on penalties. But for me, this game's a coin toss. So again, if Netherlands win, not the craziest surprise. And I told you before a ball kick, I thought Netherlands would beat Morocco because this was a projected matchup. But yeah, anyways, Portugal, Croatia. So Portugal, unfortunately, we didn't get the path to see Messi Ronaldo quarterfinal. But regardless, Portugal up against a Croatia team, still somewhat relying on a 40-year-old Luka Modric. I haven't been super impressed with Croatia, and in the same breath, I haven't been super impressed with Portugal. I still will back Portugal though. I think again, just more quality. Again, similar to Portugal, where they're pretty much structured around Ronaldo, or not structured around Ronaldo, but they have 41-year-old Ronaldo, they got 40-year-old Modric. I don't think Croatia really. I think how you get Portugal, especially we've seen with Colombia, is just raising the intensity of the game. I don't think Croatia, given the fact that Perisic is still starting for them, Modric is still starting for them, Kovacic might start for them. Like I don't think they can bring that same level of intensity to hinder Portugal and hurt the weaknesses of Portugal. And again, I think Portugal will have more difference makers, better team. I think they will just get through. They'll do enough to beat Croatia. Spain, Austria. I'm gonna have to go with Spain. I think Austria are a good team, but I just don't think they have the tools to hurt Spain. Spain also, for me, haven't been overly convincing in this tournament. Came in as pre-tournament favorites. I have my own issues. I'll get a little bit more into the issues of these teams when I do this one, but I think Spain will get enough through Austria. I think Austria just been okay. I don't think they've been overly impressive, and I don't think they've been necessarily bad either. So, but I just don't think they have the players to hurt Spain. So I'm gonna go with Spain just to get by Austria fairly comfortably. U.S. Bosnia. Club has been going viral of the U.S. reporter saying, I can't point to Bosnia on the map. So sending the U.S. up for failure in that one if they were to lose. But I do think the U.S. will beat Bosnia. I think they will beat them relatively convincingly. For me, the U.S. right now, you can highlight the game against Turkey. I just don't think it means much because for me, if you look at the drop off between the U.S.'s first team and the second team, it's great, and maybe that will play a role later on in the tournament. But I think the U.S. has enough to get past Bosnia. Yeah, I just think Bosnia, I just think they're there. I think they can be resilient. They might frustrate the U.S. a bit, but I think the U.S. just has too much quality. And playing on home soil as well, I think they'll do enough to get by. Belgium, Senegal. I'm going with Senegal. For me, Belgium haven't been great. I know they beat New Zealand. They thrashed them, but New Zealand are going into this tournament, the lowest ranked team in this tournament. And I think the games against Iran and Egypt, you haven't seen anything from Belgium. Again, Belgium, I just look at this team. It's too slow. It's not a lot of intensity going on. Senegal, had a tough group, did really well to beat Iraq. I think they're carrying a lot more momentum than Belgium going into this game, despite both teams winning their last game. I think, and Senegal, you say they lost against France and Norway. I just think both of them two tough teams. I think Senegal here, I think they're just a better team. And with Belgium, for me, I think Doku has to be the difference maker. But again, if you shut down Doku, I think you shut down Belgium. I know Troy starts with 2 goals and De Bruyne got on the score sheet, but for me, De Bruyne is just fans. As the biggest fan I am of De Bruyne, I think he's past it. And Trossard, I don't think you can rely on Trossard to carry you through a game like this. And Lukaku, still the issue for Belgium relies on who's up top because the Ketelare, not convinced by him. Lukaku can come off the bench and make an impact. I think that's what his role should be. I don't think he should be starting for Belgium. So, yeah, I think issues with Belgium up top as well. Brazil, Japan. For me, this game is almost like a contrast of two teams. You have Brazil, who I think, in terms of them sub, I think this Brazil team has problems, but they are relying on star power through Vinny, who I criticized going into this tournament actually, but has shut me up. And I think now really you're going to, for me, Vinny now on to the end of the tournament because now we're in the knockout stage. Now you have, for me, this is the moment for Vinny to fully become the face of Brazil. If he can take his form from the group stage into the knockout stage, then Vinicius Jr. has arrived for Brazil. Now this is his team officially, passing torch on, I guess you could say, from Neymar, who made an appearance against Scotland. I don't think he's going to make an impact much in Brazil's run in this tournament. And I'll talk more about that in the other video. But yeah, Japan on the other hand don't have necessarily star power, but a very well drilled team, very well organized team. Has the manager's been, coaching Japan for a long time. So again, for me, you have a team that's relying on star power and a team that's very well drilled, very well organized, very well balanced across from top to bottom. But I am going to pick Brazil. And the reason why I pick Brazil is because for me, when it comes to the World Cup and you look at the heritage of this tournament, I think, and the theme of this tournament is star power and stars coming out. And in this game, I have Brazil narrowly beating Japan. I'm expecting a big performance from Vinny. Japan will definitely make it competitive. But I think Brazil will just do enough to get by Japan. But yeah, I don't think it would be the craziest shock in the world if Japan were to beat Brazil, given the state of both teams. But I'm back in Brazil. Ivory Coast, Norway. Norway got a lot of criticism for resting against France. I think it's completely reasonable to rest players against France. Because if you look at the bracket, I don't think you're too unbothered if you finished up here compared to here. Sure, Sweden on paper are a weaker team than Ivory Coast, but I don't think the difference is marginal enough where you say like we should rest players. And it wasn't a given that Norway were going to beat France. Like you still have to beat France. And France played their strongest 11. And given the fact that the games will only this is your last chance for resting players. Games become more tighter and tighter together as the tournament progresses, and you still have to think players are still coming off a long, grueling season. I think resting players against France was the right decision. So yeah. Again, I think this game is screaming goals. To be honest, because I think Ivory Coast can play up to most opposition. I think these are two teams that many people have as dark horses going relatively far in this tournament. I think Norway just have enough. Again, like I said, similar to this one, I think star power matters in this game. I think Holland will make the difference. As good as Ivory Coast's defense has looked, but again, I think Norway's back line, you still can get at them. I think Ivory Coast have the weapons to definitely hurt Norway. I think there's still a question mark there. And I would compare this to the game against Senegal in the sense that I think Senegal are also an African team, very well balanced from top to bottom, but still as Norway showed that Holland just being one of the best strikers in the world, if not the best striker in the world, did be the difference maker in this game. Ecuador, Mexico. For me, this is the first real upset I'm predicting. I'm going with Ecuador. I think when you look at Ecuador this tournament, they start off poorly, but the result against Germany, I think is giving them a lot of momentum going into this. Now to say Mexico, you could say, oh, they're having a lot of momentum as well. But I think Ecuador, the way this team is built, I think they're built for knockout football. I think this is one of the best defensive teams in the tournament. I think Mexico, they haven't played necessarily a team that's going to sit in and play a low block. I think the teams in their group, they're not really on the same caliber as Ecuador. The thing with Ecuador, the only question with Ecuador is I still think they lack goals. I think they were. I'll be honest, I was surprised myself they were able to score 2 past Germany. That's been the theme. And I think Ecuador in these games where because Mexico playing at home, being host nation, they're gonna have to be the protagonists in this game. And I think that'll just suit Ecuador a lot more. They're well within the sit in. I'm gonna have Ecuador going through. To the despair of Mexico, unfortunately. Yeah. All right, Ecuador, Congo. England, DR Congo. I think I'm going through, but I don't think it's gonna be easy. Again, I think similar to Ghana. England shown they could struggle in slow block team. Panama took them till the 60th minute to find the breakthrough. I think England I have problems. Reece James out injured. I think there's questions now. I'm still baffled by the decision not to bring Trent. Given the fact that you brought brought 2 injury-prone right backs, even the game against Ghana. Like, I think you look at the crossing from the wingers. If you had someone like Trent, at least you have the quality of crosses would increase substantially. And just to move away from Trent, I still think with England, the wingers have been underwhelming. Rashford did not look good against Panama. Gordon has not looked good this tournament. Madueke, I just think is really inconsistent. And then Saka, he's coming off an injury, but still has not really shown yet in this tournament. But I do think they just have enough quality to get through Congo. Congo, I think, can set up defensively resilient. I think they can be a very resilient team, and they'll hold England for as long as possible. This one might go to extra time, but I think England will find a breakthrough, and Congo will eventually break. But for them, massive achievement to get to this stage in the tournament. All right, England, Cape Verde. I'm gonna be honest. This is one of my proudest predictions because no one gave Cape Verde a chance. I told you they're finishing second because I'm like, African qualifiers are no joke. They beat Cameroon in their group. Like, this is a good team. Don't sleep on them. But for me, when you're playing against Argentina and Messi, the way he's playing, I'm not gonna give very much chance here. But I think remarkable job to make it to this stage. The way Argentina playing, the way Messi's playing right now. For me, them and France are the 2 standout teams of the tournament so far. Yeah, I had them getting through Cape Verde, but shout out to them. Australia, Egypt. I think this one it could be set up for an upset. But I am gonna go with Egypt. In this case, I think Australia can be defensively resilient, but I don't know how Australia really pose a threat to Egypt. That's really my yes, you have Irakunda, but I think with Australia, you're questioning where the goals are gonna come from. I think they'll frustrate Egypt. This one is definitely gonna probably be a very low scoring game. It might be a goal to the side. It might go to extra time, even. But I'm going to back Egypt. I think Salah will be the difference maker in this game. And the thing with Egypt, someone like Marmoush has not been great for them. But yeah, and even the game against Iran, I'm going to be honest, the way Egypt were playing that game, like, I thought they'd be a little bit more motivated to top the group. They were trying to lose the game in the last 20 minutes. Like, they were just giving the ball away, onward attack. So I'm not overly convinced by this Egypt team, but I think they have enough to get past Australia. Just switch from Algeria, so you have Pekovic up against his old team. I'm gonna go with the Swiss here. Algeria, I think neither of these teams I've been overly impressed with. The thing with Algeria, I think they had their issues. Their goalkeeper, like Zidane, terrible in the first 2 games. Dropped him for the last game. Still conceded 3 goals to Austria. Like I said, I think I had this in my pre-tournament predictions. I think if Algeria play to their potential, they have enough to beat Switzerland. You're looking at players like Maza, who I think is putting fantastic performances this tournament, but has yet to chip in with any real goal contribution yet. Maybe this is the game for him. But on the other hand, for Switzerland, their young talent, Manzambi, has been fantastic in the last 2 games. I think Sweden are a more well-rounded team. Again, I think from top to bottom, there's a better team than Algeria at the moment. So I'm going to give them the edge. But yeah, and then Colombia, Ghana. I'm going to go with Colombia. They've looked fantastic so far this tournament. The thing with Colombia is they are a bit wasteful up top. But Ghana, I don't rate Ghana at all. I don't really think they pose much of a threat. If there is a game that maybe they could get, I mean, look, the way they play against England, if they play like that, they have a chance to beat Colombia. But honestly, I think the way Colombia is playing, every game they create high volume of chances. That's not the issue for this team. It's just putting the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah. Moving on to round 16. So France, Germany. I don't rate this German team. I think I said this in the last. I'm gonna go with France here. The loss of Schlarbecke, I think, is really a nail in the coffin because I think without him, this German team, especially the back line, there's no way they can contain this France attack. Not many teams can, and just for me, I look at even this German attack like it hasn't really clicked for Verts, Musiala, Sane, like Havertz up top. I don't really trust Havertz in this type of game. And Undav, like, sure, he can come off the bench and make the difference. He'll probably make the difference in this game, but I still think Nagelsmann needs to start him, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I just have France. I think this game will be a convincing France win. Canada, Morocco. Fortunately, this is where as far as Canada can go. Morocco, we just simply have too much for Canada. I think Morocco will just win this comfortably. Even if the Netherlands went through, I think really whatever team here goes through, they don't really pose much of a threat to either of these teams. All right, Portugal, Spain. For me, both these two teams have been disappointing in this tournament so far in terms of performances. I think for Spain, came in as tournament favorites. I think the more you're seeing of Spain, you're seeing more of flashbacks of the 2018 Spain team, the 2022 Spain team, where this team can dominate possession, but you really don't know who's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think with Spain, at this point, I think all hope relies on Yamal and his fitness and sharpness, because for me, Spain's attack completely relies on him. And I know in the Euros, Nico Williams were chipping, but Nico Williams is not the same player as he was 2 years ago at the moment. And if Yamal's not on it, I don't see how Spain pose any threat offensively. They're not even, I think, creating clear enough chances for their players. Sure, they look good against Saudi, but Saudi are one of the weakest teams in the tournament. And on the other hand, with Portugal, I don't think it's a personnel issue. I think Spain, there's a personnel issue. I think the manager's fine. For Portugal, I think Roberto Martinez. I know Ronaldo's been the scapegoat so far of this tournament, and not to shy away from his performances. I think Martinez. I just think he sets this team up. There's no identity to this Portugal team. For me, when I see Portugal play, I see him just picking what he believes is the best 11 players and just throwing them on the field. Because I don't know what the idea is with Portugal. I don't know what they're trying to do. Like, I don't think the team is built around Ronaldo. I don't think the team is built around Bruno. I don't think it's built around Vitinha Neves. I just think he's just chucking players on the field. And like, I think it showed against Colombia because, again, there's no sense of urgency. I don't really know like what patterns the player are doing. They concede a lot of pressure to Colombia. Colombia were just getting off shots for fun. If it wasn't for the goalkeeper, Colombia could have beat them fairly convincingly. So I don't trust Martinez at all to set up his team against Spain to do well. I just think, and you say like, oh, taking Bernardo Silva out for João Felix was a difference. I don't really think it made a difference against Uzbekistan. And it didn't show in this game either. For me, it comes down to this point. I think this game is completely relying on Spain, and if Yamal is at fully firing. And from what I've seen so far, I'm going to say no. I'm going to back Portugal here, just because, again, I think they have more difference makers with Bruno. Even, I know Leao hasn't really been the best for him, but like Leao and these teams play in the Nations League. Ronaldo proved to be a difference maker in this game. I'm going to go with Portugal, just I think Spain crash out here. I think both these teams are underwhelming at the moment. USA Senegal. So this will definitely be the US's hardest test so far. Play each other in a friendly where the US just got the better of Senegal. And I'm going to back the US here. For me, playing on home soil, I think that's just going to be the difference maker against Senegal. Senegal, good team. I think they definitely can beat the U.S. But for me, this is the biggest test of the U.S. And I criticize the U.S. Can they play up to elite opposition? That for me has been the biggest criticism because the U.S. I think they do fine against teams that they are worse than, but like quote like worse than. But when they play against teams that are on their level or slightly above, can they play up to the opposition? I'm loving how the U.S. is playing right now. I'm kind of disregarding the Turkey game, if I'm being honest. I'm going to go with the U.S. to beat Senegal. I'm going to do it. I'm going to back the team. Norway, Brazil. I had these two teams meeting in the round of 16 in my prediction, or in the quarterfinal. I think round 16. And I'm going to say true to my prediction. I'm going with Norway. This Brazil team still has issues. I still think the midfield. I know Norway's midfield isn't anything special either, but I still think Brazil's midfield is too slow. I think the back line, you can still very much get the back line. I don't really see a way the Brazil midfield, like, you take Casemiro, Bruno Mars, and the four at the back for Brazil. I don't see a way you can contain Holland. Even at club level, like, I'm driving on narrative as a City fan, but like, I think Holland matched up really well against Gabriel. I don't think Gabriel has proven that he can contain Holland. And Marquinhos, like, both Marquinhos and Gabriel, they're both secondary defenders at their clubs. They both play next to a center back who I think is better and is more impactful to defense. But that being said, with Brazil, sure, going forward, definitely opposed to Norway, because Norway's defense, you can definitely get at them. But I think Holland will be more impactful in this game. I think this is where Brazil falter. I'm going to be honest. I think this is the final straw for them. I'm going to go with Norway with the upset here. And speaking of upset, I'm going with Ecuador over England. I think Ecuador, in terms of matchup against England, I think this is England's nightmare to match up against a team like Ecuador. Because, like I said, you might be saying I'm taking too much away from the Ghana game. I think Ecuador, the way they play, not even just the Ghana game, but if you look at England's friendlies in terms of teams they struggled against, I think Ecuador, the way they're built, the way this team is constructed, England, I don't think England will be able to break them down. I don't think so. Congo, I'm just saying they'll still have to sit similar, but Ecuador have way more quality. You have Caicedo playing in the Prem week in, week out. Like, you can definitely win a midfield battle against, Declan Rice. I'm not gonna jump into the debate who's better, that Caicedo or Rice, but I think I don't think England will be able to break down Ecuador, and I think this team going to penalties, I think the pressure will be more on England because, again, England penalty shootouts, we can get into the history of that. But again, being the team that's expected to win here, I think they'll feel the pressure a lot more. And for me here, with 2-goal squad selections as management, I think if England were to go out this stage, I think given everything with how the team has been playing, 2-goal selections, and I told you the narrative, with this team, massive disappointment, and I'm back in Ecuador against England. All right, moving on. Argentina, Algeria, Egypt. I think it's as far as Egypt can go. Again, with Egypt, I think for them, getting to this stage, I think for them, I was deemed as a success because they won their first World Cup game. Going against the world champions is going to be a tough ask for Egypt and Salah. But again, I think the way Argentina are playing right now, I just think they're one of the best teams in form. I just think it'll be too much for Egypt and have Argentina going through. Swiss, Colombia. I'm going to go with Colombia in this game. Like I said, I haven't been overly impressed with the Swiss in this tournament, and I like the way Colombia are looking. I think at this point, picking up a lot of momentum. I just like Colombia more than I like Swiss. I'm just gonna put it simple as, but Swiss will definitely make it a competitive game. And yeah, moving on to the quarterfinals. I'm trying to get this through because the game's about to start in 4 minutes. I'm gonna be a little bit late, but yeah. All right, France, Morocco. I'm gonna go France here. Morocco definitely makes a competitive game, but like I said, limiting that attack to limiting that front four of France. We have tough ass from Morocco. Rematch of the semifinal from the last World Cup. I just think France at this point will be in full swing, and they'll be looking to storm all the way to the final. So, but Morocco, I think this will, get into the quarterfinal up against France, who, beating them will be a tough ask. I think will be deemed a success, but I'm going to go with France. Portugal, U.S. Now, you're going to call me crazy. Like I said, I haven't been convinced of Portugal's performances. So if we're going off performances, the U.S., I'm not taking the Turkey game into account. And I've said this throughout the video. Like, I haven't seen anything from Portugal that convinces me they can beat the U.S. And you can call that bias as an American. I think if the U.S. gets past Senegal, and if it's in the manner I imagine it to do so, I think this team really will start to believe. And I think home crowd, Portugal, I think, again, I don't trust the manager. Pochettino is a much better manager than Roberto Martinez. I'm back in the U.S. Now, if he's told me Spain were here, I think Spain beat the U.S. Again, I think it comes to tournament matchups. I talked about this with the England-Ecuador game. I don't know if the U.S. can play a game where they're going to be sitting off the ball. And I think that would be a game, if Spain play against Spain, are going to dominate possession. With Portugal, I think the U.S. high-energy team, again, I think at this stage in the tournament, the question with the U.S. is can the back line, has the U.S. back line been tested enough? Because that's definitely where you can get the U.S. the goalkeeper as well. There's question marks there. But at this point, I'm going to say the U.S. has a lot more momentum than Portugal, given the fact that I don't think Portugal will be playing well, and I think they'll just be getting by off the sheer fact that the teams they're facing have more problems. So I think I'm going to back the U.S. to go to the semifinal. Again, like host nations typically do well. I know I had Mexico crashing out. I know I Canada coming out, but I'm going to back the U.S. just in this case. And you can call it bias, but right now, from what I've seen in this tournament, I think the U.S. In terms of performances from a team, have been one of the best in the tournament. Norway, Ecuador. I'm going to go with Norway. I think Ecuador. I mean, again, Ecuador can frustrate Norway. I think with Norway here, at this point, I think you look at Norway, they're tall team. I think set pieces are going to be important. Again, Holland. I know you say England have Kane, but again, I just don't think I don't see, as good as Ecuador can set up. I think Holland's still going to be a tough ass to stop. I have Norway just going through. I think they have a bit more to them. I still think Ecuador, the challenge is scoring goals. So in terms of getting at Norway's back line, who I don't think is great, I think they'll just struggle. So, and like I said, I think star power heritage matters. I'm going to go with Norway just because they have Erling Haaland up top. And this one, Argentina-Colombia rematch of the Copa America final last year, or 2 years ago, sorry. I'm going to go with Argentina here. Again, I think Argentina will be playing better. I think this will be tightly contested. I think Argentina is a more clinical team, a more mature team, have more experience. And if you look at, I guess you could say heritage in South America, I think Colombia, no disrespect to them, but I think when it comes to them playing the likes of Brazil and Argentina, especially in major tournaments, I still think they struggle to. Actually, they beat Brazil in the Copa America, but still, I'm just saying historically. I still think they struggle to beat the big two between Argentina and Brazil and Copa America. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, the game started, but damn, that sucks. All right, well, we know my matchup, so I'm just gonna talk about it. Between I can't visualize a bracket anymore, so let me just talk about my semifinals. We know what it's gonna be. So I have France, USA in one, and I have Argentina, Norway in the other one. At this point, I think it's as far as the U.S. can go. France, for me, at this point, like I said, they'll be in full swing. The U.S. back line is the biggest issue, and the goalkeeper. So I think France convincingly make it to the final. And between Norway and Argentina, I'm going to go with Argentina here. I think more well-balanced team. I think the way Messi's playing right now, everything. Norway at this stage, I think this is when the inexperience of them, they've never been here before. They've never been to a major semifinal recently. This is their first major tournament in who knows how many years. I think 20 plus years, I think. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it's been over 20 years since they last been to a major tournament. So I think Argentina get through and we'll get a replay of the 2022 World Cup final. If you want to talk about third place, I'm gonna go with the U.S. to finish third, maybe. But in terms of who I think is gonna win that final between France and Argentina, I'm gonna go with France this time around. I just think of this, like I said, France. I think this is a better France team than the one 4 years ago. I think this Argentina team, as good as they are, I do think they're not as good as the team that won the World Cup still. Messi is 4 years older. You still have to take that into account. Although he's looking sharp right now, he's still 4 years older. So, yeah, I'm going to go with France to win it all. I want to watch this game. It's already kicked off, and I'm going to leave it there. And, yeah, I'll see you.